Happy to meet you. Welcome to Milan, Arci Bellezza. Hope you traveled well to Milan. You've been in Spain, Portugal, and so on. And so I think now you're coming to the south, really south of Europe.
Yeah, we were in Switzerland last night. So that was a really nice drive yesterday. Today, rather. It's all blurred into one. But yeah, that was beautiful coming down through the mountains today.
Yeah, I'm very glad to be back in Italy.
So, few questions before the show. Just really wanted to talk about the new album. Nice work. I need to say, first listen, didn't really get it. Second listening, got it. Okay, so, actually listening to you during the rehearsal there, the sound checking was really great. So, I think you're going to have a very great show tonight. So, never exhale. Exactly. What do you think about tell me more about the title and the spirit of the album, because I've been reading a lot. I've been reading like the storytelling that was around this new album, and basically you've been touring and registering generally. So tell me more about it and what's the story.
I feel like the title never excels how it comments on last year touring. We had non-stop. There was so many gigs throughout that year, back to back, where I felt we didn't really have time to even have a break.
Yeah.
We got the title from a silly cartoon, but we kind of I think when somebody said it out loud, we were like, oh, that seems to be, that fits quite well. And then from then on, I think it was a pretty easy decision to make. We didn't think about it for too long, and it worked out quite well, I think. Yeah, I think it represents the album really well.
And if you think about the previous ones, so the Great Revision, and you never excel, what was the change? What was the thing you wanted to bring? Because listening to it, I thought you went definitely darker. And I think that when you come to like not the last, but the body of structure, and at a certain point you just shout like the horror, which was really Conrad's style actually. I do believe it was really strong, I think. So what did drive you, and what was the feeling you wanted to include in your tracks?
I think it's more of there's nothing's ever intentional that way. It's not pre-planned. I think it's better to think of it as a representation, like a natural representation of where we're at, and we're not setting out a lot of the time to write the sort of darkest or whatever-ist thing that we can. I think
there's no pre-planned anything. I'm just writing in the moment, and I think things happen and evolve as they go. So there's no predetermined plan for the album or how it's set out. I think we just started writing and things took their course.
Yeah, we might say specific things. Like, oh, we want to try this, or we want to try doing something with a bit of this. But I don't think we.
Yeah. I think we wanted to make the darker and heavier bits even darker and heavier than previously, but then the sort of lighter and more melodic bits to be more melodic, and do you know what I mean? As in, play to the strength to be the side, sort of make it more. I don't know how to explain. Just sort of lean into it a bit more, in terms of the heavier bits being heavier and darker bits. We certainly had influences from all over, but parts of the album were written quite a long time ago, a few years ago. Parts of the album were written just last year, and it's only the start of this year that we've actually played every song on the album live. But however, some songs we wrote in France almost 3 years ago, and we've been playing them on the road like,
Yeah.
since. But yeah, and it comes in different bits. But once it was all down, I feel like the order of the album worked perfectly, and it fell into place quite nicely. But like these two were saying, like it wasn't planned like that. But once we did recording, I feel like it fell really smoothly into it.
Yeah, I feel like it's not supposed to be. I don't think it's a particularly great idea when you're making music to just decide. Yeah, I mean, because otherwise it won't be a good representation of the time when you wrote it, or the mood that you were in, or what you were doing or listening to, or what you were consuming at the time. And I think it's better to leave some things up to the chance of your own imagination, and that's what we did with this album a lot. There's always going to be natural influences that we have that we gravitate to because we collectively like that kind of thing, but I think it's a lot of this album was somebody coming up with something a little bit different, and then us going, oh yeah, let's give that a go, and then trying to make it fit, rather than writing to the set formula. I mean, there's a few examples. I think one here actually. There we go. A good example is "Smell Like Something Died in Here," which is something that Anton came up with. The sort of initial, and it was so formless originally. It had there wasn't much of a structure, but there was the atmosphere. Was almost what was pre-written to it, and then it was a case of us trying to sort of, all of a sudden there's words that can kind of, set a pace to the song and stuff. But that's a perfect example. Brittany as well, which is one that Jack, who's not here right now, because he's having a sleep in the van. That's one that he came up with. That he came up with all these, all these synth parts, which isn't something we've ever really done much of before. There's a couple of odd little bits, but
even that was really fun. The song you had.
Yeah, it was.
But I think a lot of these songs are all very much like just like skeletons of songs, very very loosely planned, and they don't really come together until we got together in rehearsal rooms.
Yeah. I mean, when I first heard his demo for that, I was like, I can't imagine this being a DITZ song until I put a little bit of vocals on it. I was like, oh, okay, that's my voice. It's going to be played through, Sam's going to play the drums on it, so it's going to sound like Sam drumming, Kayla's going to play bass on it. It kind of, it's one of those where like they could be anything until we actually play them together.
So, well, when I listened to it, actually, honestly, my feeling is that from, let's get V70 button taxi man to basically 18-wheeler, it has sense, like it really matches everything together, and then you have these last two tracks in which you change completely. Honestly, my impression is this one, so the body as structure basically is definitely more melodic from this side. Somebody described it a little bit gothic, but I'm just reading all the very positive reviews. So I've been reading around and listen to it. Britney, somebody thinks about a little bit of influence of Mogwai or whatever, but it really explode in the end. And I think it's very interesting that you basically been playing it in the past, and then you realize how to put them together. But still, it still has a lot of connection, also from a lyrics perspective, and then when you put together one piece I really like is Señor Siniestro, which I would like to ask about the title a little bit more to understand what comes up with the...
So that's one of the ones where the title actually comes from the demo. So Jack wrote this instrumental and gave it that title. As I was as I wrote the lyrics afterwards, I kind of still liked the title, and I was like, oh, should we just keep that? But I think it was originally supposed to be Portuguese for Mr. Sinister, because it was describing the way the guitar sat. It's It's got that sort of eerie, constantly creeping around the corner type vibe to it. Like, it's just that's where the title comes from. That was just the first thing he came up with, and he put it on a SoundCloud that he sends to us, like, oh, here's a new thing I've just written. What do you guys think? And I titled it from then.
Kind of just get for it, didn't it?
It does. It just
had that vibe.
suits the outfit.
Well, so am I expect you are still writing something, or that these new things that you will bring together at a certain point in a new disco?
Those bits were still put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. We're considering a few different plans as well. We might try and do a few just studio experiments where we go in with nothing and see what we come out with, because we haven't done that for a while. I think, it might be something interesting. We'll see how much money we have, but my stuff we can afford.
Very important.
Yeah.
Question, really free to answer, because the lyrics, the words and everything go really to the essential, in the sense that of enlightening a lot of the sinister ideas. You've been writing about feeling more Kafka style rather than Orwell's, but do you consider this a political album, or your, let's say?
I feel like it's hard to not relate anything to politics these days. It's like, but obviously probably always. I think that's just the thing about getting older. You sort of see the source of any issue that you might ever have from a political perspective, because you see how the world works a bit better.
Exactly. There's such a prevalent part of everyone's lives.
Yeah.
That you can't really avoid that. I wouldn't say the album is a very political album. It doesn't in its entirety. But there's still effects of that. There's parts of songs where there are comments on that, for sure.
I think it depends.
And I think it's hard to ignore some of the shit that is going on in the world that, we obviously don't agree with, and it's like I was saying, it would creep into it, because the state of the world is directly linked to politics, so it's hard not to. But I don't feel like it specifically has a political angle or standpoint on it. But
You could pick songs apart, I think, and really find specific things in them if you really wanted to. I've yet to see a review that does that properly yet. I've yet to see a review that goes line by line on it. Probably because it would take a while. But that's why, I think, in all the albums that I really, really like, all my favourite albums, albums by bands like The Fall, or, you could spend a lifetime unpacking all the words on one of those albums. And I think that's what I wanted to do. That's what I've always wanted to do with my lyrics, is to make something that is, has layers in that way. It's something that you can listen to repeatedly and find something different that you like about it every time. And I think the vast majority of albums that I would consider my favourites are all things like that, whether it's a different reference or a different, a different layer of innuendo that you didn't hear the first time. It's the same with books, or whatever, or a film, like a film that you can watch several times and you're still picking up on different things. And that kind of thing does take a lot of pre-planning. It takes a lot of going back over it. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hours, and I hope that's what I've managed to do with the lyrics on this album. But I think I could probably do better, give it a bit more age and a bit more experience. So I don't know. I'd say I'd love to hear some more analysis of it. but I can't wait to go write another one.
Well, so we might expect something more specific or politically oriented for next one, maybe. Not necessarily.
Or something even harder to read.
That's interesting.
And obscurity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's the thing, like we never know. Like we could get into the studio and write something really peaceful and soft and nice, or it could be the complete opposite. Or it could be, you know, like it depends.
I mean, we don't have a structured plan for the next album, so
Yeah.
I feel like that's better just to
There's,
have that
you
free
know,
forward.
we got a folder on Google Drive that has it's got some variety in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some like, there's so much on there that I'm like, I don't see how that could be a DITZ song. But also when I first heard like Jack's original demo for Britney, I didn't imagine that being a DITZ song.
I think it just taps into the mix of influences that we all have. I think like we all have such a broad range, and then not one of us has strictly the same influences. So I think Michael's songwriting is good to have a good range, good obscurities like that. So when we eventually come together, it manages to build a song that can be like similar to what we've already done, or can be completely out there and completely different. And I think we're all quite welcome to the idea of that.
The thing about that is as well, I find that because we sit there in a van together for, you know, a month at a time, that most of the time we all know exactly where somebody has come up with something from, because that person, you know, let's say you write something, Ken, you get really, you know, you get excited about it, but I'll know where your influences are because I'll have been with you quite a lot in the 6 months before that, and I'll know what you were listening to because I was sat next to you while you were listening to it. And I feel like we all do that quite a lot. It's like, but it's one of those ones that the thing that like I find interesting is when somebody thinks they're influenced, thinks they're doing something that sounds like whatever, and then you go back to it and you don't think it sounds like what they think they're trying to replicate, and that's where it gets really interesting, because that's when things like that's when something new happens, you know.
Yeah, that's also why I asked you, because it always gets me to like read a lot of what other people say about something, and at the end it comes up, oh wow, I listened to this and this, and then I get a little bit fed up of all the references stuff and whatever. So that's why I always ask people, what were you actually thinking where you were doing this, and most of the time it's like came up so popped up in this way. But it's also because I think that this specific album brings a lot of sub messages and ideas that for this reason I really wanted to understand. I mean, your way of writing is very powerful in terms of creating images, like in Taxman, about this idea of these people like driving you somewhere, and then at the end you're feeling like, if I'm not remembering correctly all the words, but basically kind of like a bat, but that's looking like a sorry, okay, a bird to fly away and then be back immediately. So it's like you have some idea of getting to somewhere, you don't know exactly where, but being driven, and then you have all these tracks about.
It does work really well at the start of the album. It's something I really like about it as well. There's the start of the, you know, that's it. You're immediately locked into the road. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And like, that is where we wrote the album. We wrote it on the road in different places all over Europe, you know. And
I was writing.
yeah, and that, you know, I think that there is a bit of a sort of automotive theme going throughout the album, I guess.
A little.
Yeah.
From the V7 70 started, yes.
So that's Sam's old car was a V70.
But I drove.
We were recording.
Yeah, we recorded in London. We drove up every day, I drove up in that car, and yeah, Jack fell asleep in it almost every day as soon as he got in it. So yeah, and then the first track we called that. But again, it's like I thought there was influences from a certain band, but then when I've heard people talk about it, they've thought it's something completely different. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even think of.
Yeah, because I had this really specific idea of what that kind of sounded like, but yeah, and that's how Taximan started. Was that was just I was messing around with that first bit in V70, and then it came into that.
That is the. So when we wrote Taximan, we had like this little it was that little guitar part, the little. And then we were sort of like trying to build an intro to that part, and it ended up being V70. And we wrote we ended up, before we'd even finished Taximan, we had all of what was V70 and everything. And eventually we finished the bit that is Taximan. It was one song, and I think we just needed Taximan to be a bit more immediate, so that's why it's ended up as two songs. We usually play them together. We wouldn't play V70 without Taximan, but we played V70 into Taximan a lot on this tour as the opener. And then last night, for the first time, we didn't play V70, we had Taximan towards the end of the set. And I forgot what doing that was like. Do you know what I mean? That was really interesting to play it without V70.
It was a bit jarring, to be honest, because it's been so long.
Yeah.
I think
it went down quite well at the end of the set as well, though. But it's also been a good opener. It gets people.
To comment on that, it's definitely the single of the album, in my opinion. I definitely see it as that. And like you said, with Cal's lyrics, it's just, you're there instantly, from the get-go, like in the song. And it's fun to play, it's, fun to see people's reactions, it's dancey, it's bouncy, it's like, I would definitely see that as one of the big singles of the album.
I'd say it's the definitive song on the album. If I had to cut away every single track on the album, I'd say Taximan is the song. That is the one that best sort of defines the writing style of the album. It's one that we all just totally came up with together in one space while we were in the middle of playing a bunch of shows, while we were exhausted, and and now we get to play it again. Now we get to go on tour again because of that song. We get to go and play that in front of loads of people every night, and it's great.
Okay, clear. And so talking about the live performances, I saw you once already here in Milan.
Whereabouts was that?
In Actress, yes. And you're really powerful when doing like live versions. I really like the idea of you guys getting so much in the songs, and even you going around the stage, downstage with people and so on. And I've been reading that you've been you've been touring as crazy in these years. Is this something like, even looking for places like not large venues or whatever? So what is this something that you've been seeking consciously, or like because you wanted to do this?
What you mean playing?
Yeah, in every place basically.
Well, I think it just has come naturally to us. We like it. Of course we do. I love getting to a new city every day. I've seen, like in the past month, I've been freezing cold and boiling hot, and I've eaten pastel de natas, and I've watched somebody open a can of pickled herring. It's like.
There's places you would never see going as just a tourist.
Yeah.
Like you go to cities or towns, just small towns or villages you would never even think of. And it's interesting how touring just drags you to these places.
Yeah.
And you get to experience a lot of new things and customers, new people, just everything.
I would say because when you think about the idea of this album, which is like we've been touring and we've been like getting crazy over this, and then you actually like to do it, so it's.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's fucking tiring.
It's exhausting, but it's enjoyable.
It's like the most rewarding part of it, because in the modern day, listening to music, like the commodity of music and YouTube and Spotify and streaming, means that you don't get that instant response from music like you do live. And I think, yeah, live is, for me, is the best way to put your music across. It's the most fun.
Yeah, I mean, we've never been like a hype band. We've never had like a big sort of media push anywhere, ever. And I don't think we'll ever get it because we're not really that good at interviewing. We don't have like a very clear-cut statement to make. But I'd say that every single person that's a DITZ fan, I mean, or at least the vast majority, is just somebody that's seen us live. I like this album, but all these songs are way better live. They're so much better live.
100%.
And it's like, if we didn't do this, we'd just be some, little band putting an album up on Bandcamp, and 10 people listen to it,
Yeah.
I think
Playing local venue.
every week. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those. But the only reason that we're really different is because we've really gone for it. Like we're getting close to about 400 shows. Since COVID, since the end of COVID, so 2021, we've played about. I think we've played close to 250, 200, or maybe closer to 300 shows, or it will be by the end of this tour. We're set to have played about 60 by the end of April this year.
Numbers. That's
And that's when you like and that's before you start counting in the days when the travel days you had to get to somewhere that was slightly further away, or right now we're on 7 shows back to back. This is our 7th show. We've got a day off tomorrow, first time in ages. We play for an hour and 20 minutes every night, most nights, sometimes slightly less. We had a festival a couple of days ago, but we play for an hour and 20 minutes every night. We'll sound check for 2 hours every night. That's exhausting for your ears. Like my ears are tired right now.
It's like when you're in it, you don't realise how good and how amazing it is because you're having to do it. And then when you remove yourself from it and you think, fuck me, like this is the most fun you could ever have. And it's amazing, but yeah, sometimes when it's like show after show, you do get a bit fatigued and stuff, but just Jack tonight, he's tired and stuff, I'm on the Lemsip, but it's the most fun we could ever have.
You realise that you're on the Lemsip because you realise there's a venue full of people out there that bought all of the tickets to your show.
Yeah.
You've got to go and play that because
yeah,
you're not going to go give them their money back, are you?
And this is it, no matter what, we'll always do the gig. Like Jack, our guitarist, had an accident, broke his wrist recently.
Mate, you dislocated your shoulder like 3 years ago. I still drummed it next time.
Oh yeah. Jack's wrist right now is currently broken. It's been broken for about 3 months. He's waiting until after this tour to go get an operation to fix it.
And
so
in place, yeah.
And then we might have a little break for a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
There was also a time Sam came off his bike about 2 years ago and dislocated his shoulder. I've got a really funny photo of his bone in the wrong place. It looks awful.
Popped out, and then they popped it back in and said, "Don't do anything for a week." And they called me up the next day. Is everything alright? And I said, "I'm in Germany on the way to a festival. I'm going to play a gig." And they were like, "Don't do that."
Don't do that.
But we did it. Yeah, because this is it. Like we love the live shows are the most important
Is it
thing.
still working? Like the shoulder?
Yeah. Just about.
They just have to move the drums lower.
They click sometimes.
So we say the shoulder is okay in any case.
Shoulder is okay. Yes.
Nobody got injured meanwhile, and the other. No, everybody's fine.
I broke a rib once on stage. That was pretty bad.
That definitely sounds
I dislocated the thing.
Oh yeah, your ankles come out as well.
Oh yeah, I've broken my ankle a few times. I've had my finger pop out during the set, mid-song, and then pop back in 2 songs later. But you just continue playing.
It was like one time I fell off the barrier and hit my hip on the floor and my knee everywhere.
Is that Bristol? Where you,
It was Bristol, yeah.
It's the crowd barrier.
Yeah. Well, no, I slipped on it because I spilled a beer on stage, stepped in it, and then I was wearing like slippy trainers.
There was some great
Put my-
CCTV footage.
Yeah, but you got the CCTV.
Okay.
I don't know if that could go out because
No.
I can't name the venue.
Yeah, we can't name the venue.
No, we're not naming, but in any case, you gave me a lot of reasons why to see you. Okay,
Yeah.
just to check the next
Accident.
so it's fine. Well, guys, I really want to thank you for this talk.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And
Right, right.
Salute.
salute.